development. For 803 and 703 is Introduction to Development Studies. That said, today we will be looking at the concept of development planning, the need for development planning. And we will try to x-ray as much as we can all the development plans that Nigeria, has come up with. And possibly look at the effectiveness of or otherwise of these development plans. Are we together? Can you hear me all right? Good.
Yes, I can hear you from here.
Good.
Don't know of other people.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay,
You're clear, sir.
Thank you, sir. You see, the thing about development is that it is often planned. Development is not an accident. No country develops by accident. And like I've said before, development is not an event. Development is a process, sometimes a long and difficult process. In the course of these processes, countries will make their own mistakes, learn their own lessons, and then find their own path towards development. But like we've always argued, in Africa, we adopt a lazy man's approach to development. And so Nigeria has had a series of development plans, which we will come to. But the first question we ask ourselves, why do countries need to plan, painstakingly and meticulously for development? You know what they say about planning? A man who has a plan has a direction, and he knows where he's headed. There's a destination, there's a direction. Unlike the man who does not have plan. In Delta State, where I grew up, there's this game we play. We call it Anywhere Belle Face. Anywhere Belle Face. It's more like football, soccer, but there are no rules. There's no goalposts. So we just played the ball around, and it was fun growing up. But you cannot have an anywhere Belle Face approach to development. And that is the story of most African countries, particularly. So if the countries who have direction, countries who have plans, have direction, they know where they are headed. And in planning, you should have plan A, plan B, plan C, and as much alternatives as possible, just in case there are issues here. In planning, you plan and replan. You plan and adjust the plans to suit contemporary realities, contemporary social, economic realities. Planning can be a very difficult process, particularly when you're planning for over 250 million people. Planning for the development of a country this large and this difficult to govern, considering the ethnic and religious, heterogeneity and plurality. So you have to find a way to carry everybody along in your development plan. You have to find a way to be inclusive in your development plan in order not to be accused as a government of being prejudiced or biased or sentimental towards a particular ethnic nationality or religious group. That is the tragedy of the Nigerian state. But then we're not here to talk about ethnicity or religion. We're here to talk about development, particularly development planning. Can you hear me all right? Can you hear me? Am I clear?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Good.
You are clear, sir.
And so development planning is critical. It's a critical imperative for all nations, every nation. But it holds particular significance for African countries, due to our history, our origin, our environmental challenges, cultural and social, complexities. You know how we were developing, like I've argued before in the last class, or in previous classes. And then the white men came and disrupted our development in the name of coming to save us from ourselves, in the name of coming to bring us civilization. But in actual fact, it was a disruption. And so beyond that, independent nations began to, as independent, countries began to plan their development. Some country nations took the destiny into their hands. Also, effective development planning serves as a roadmap for nations to harness their vast human and natural resources, to promote industrialization, enhance social infrastructure, drive economic diversification, improve education, improve healthcare, improve social welfare. To achieve sustainable development and reduce poverty and improve the quality of life of citizens, African countries must adopt inclusive, participatory, and evidence-based planning frameworks. So development planning must be inclusive. Development planning must be participatory. Development planning must be evidence-based. Development planning must be local. And by this, I mean development planning must be structured or tailored to meet the needs and aspirations of the local people. And without these elements, integrated into the development planning of any nation, all they've been doing is just a waste of time. Inclusivity, localization, very important. For instance, the needs and aspirations of people in northern Nigeria. Now, they are generic needs and aspirations, but you can take it for granted. There are some regions in this country that every parent understands the need to take their children to at least basic education. There are regions in this country where, people just give birth and it doesn't matter. Don't worry, God will take care. And so development planning, for instance, in areas where you can take it for granted that parents will at least educate their children at least upper basic education level. The nature and character of development planning with regard to education will be completely different from that in areas where parents don't see the need. At least some categories of parents don't see the need for their kids to go to school and learn Western education. And this is just an example. To the extent that there was a government in this country that tried to integrate some aspect of religious education into, I wouldn't want to call it Western education. I would rather use the word conventional education. Because Western education it depends on what you call Western education. Sometimes Western education can be dangerous to society. And so development planning should also include, beyond being local, because we live in a country where the borders between our neighboring nations are not clearly defined. Sometimes you have to factor in, the intricacies and the proximity, between Nigeria and its neighbors. For instance, Buhari was building a train from that goes across and moves into Niger Republic. There's a need for that. And of course, you cannot discountenance the impact of soft power in international relations. Because oftentimes the trade between Niger and Nigeria is huge, the volume. And so what he was trying to do, the development thinking then was to ease the movement of man and goods, possibly service between those two countries. Even though some have argued that The man is even from Nigeria, hence his interest in building that railway. I don't know what became of that project. I don't think the recent administration is interested in continuing that project because I've not been hearing anything about that project for quite some time now. And that again is the tragedy of development in African countries, particularly in Nigeria. Policy inconsistency in development plans or planning. One government comes, starts a project, a developmental project that's supposed to impact positively the lives of the citizens. Another government comes and is not interested in that project, particularly because whatever he does, the project will be the glory, since it's all about taking glory. Glory will be ascribed to the previous administration who started the project. And therein lies the problematic. Governments will come and go, but Nigeria remains. Governments will come and go, but the strive or the struggle to develop Nigeria is an unceasing, more like a never-ending process. What then is development plan or development plan? Are we together? Hello?
Yes, sir. We are together, sir.
We're together.
I need to be sure. Since I'm not seeing you. I rather physical classes so that I can see you and
Yes,
gauge
sir.
your
We are
mood.
ready. We are listening. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So occasionally I'll be asking these questions.
Okay.
Don't be angry. Any questions so far? Any questions?
There's no question from me. I'm actually enjoying the analysis. That's why I'm really.
Oh, okay.
I have a question, sir.
Okay, sir. Hit me.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We're enjoying your lecture. I just want to find out, we are meant to, normally we take notes when a lecturer, when we receive a lecture of this nature. But from my own deductions, the way the lecture is going, it's a little bit difficult for us to actually put anything down.
Okay,
I don't know.
How exactly is the lecture going?
But it's flowing very well. It's it's quite understandable. All you are saying are very simple and straightforward, and they are contemporary things that we're all aware of.
Difficulty?
No, yeah. What I'm trying to say is that some of us like to put down some notes. Probably if you can slow down a little,
Oh, okay.
so that we
I get your
can.
point.
Because I don't know if you're going to give us a note.
Immediately after the class, I'm sending the notes to your courseware.
Fine, you can continue, sir. The same way you've been going, sir.
I think
Fantastic.
I get your point. Your point is I'm too slow. I need to see. That's correct.
Okay,
Thank
sir.
you. Thanks for calling me.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Any other issue, any other challenge, any other questions?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you for another opportunity. I enjoy your class personally. Sorry, I lost my voice. I hope I'm a bit audible.
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry.
Okay. The point I wanted to raise is exactly what the last person said, because you're talking about development planning, and it must, for us to have a successful the development planning, you mentioned some attributes. You mentioned it must be inclusive, it must be local, it must be evidence-based, structured to meet the needs and aspirations. Inclusiveness. You mentioned a lot of things, but this is the little, because you are very swift and fast. Your mouth moves so fast. So this is the little we could grab. We know that we will get materials from our course rep at the end of the course, but we also love to jot some things, possibly grab the examples that you give, because most of us, someone like me, I don't like to miss classes because each example, maybe I may forget something, but the example you gave in a particular course will help me remember. Will help us remember.
I apologize.
Yes.
Yes. I'm a fast talker, but I need to take into consideration that I'm teaching and people have to take notes. I'm sorry. There'll be significant attitudinal adjustments going forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
But then you got everything I said. You could have explained. There's nothing left to note. You know.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That's good. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
okay. Now we try to look at development plan, more like national development plan. Development planning can be better comprehended by explaining the concept of development and planning separately. So, in other words, what is development? What is planning? And I'll take it for granted that we already know what development is. We are familiar with what development is, with the concept or idea of development, considering the fact that we have treated that particular part of this lesson. I'm certain if I ask the question, what is development? You will be struggling to, I'll be the one struggling to decide who is going to answer the question. Now, I'm assuming that is not to say that it is correct, because sometimes we come to classes and after the class, everything about that class is abandoned, if not forgotten, until the next class. And after the next class, same cycle until exams. That's when students will now be like, oh, I need to study. And then you start struggling, you know. So always make it a habit to go through your lecture notes and familiarize yourself. If you can do that an hour a day. So by the time examination comes, now this is not part of development plan. This is part of academic planning, individualistic or individualized academic planning. An hour a day, you familiarize yourself with. So by the time examination is coming, every other person will be struggling and trying to meet up. You're already at 0.8, only 20% left to come. What is development? Of course, we agree, personally, I align myself with the idea of development put forward by Dr. Sears. So he didn't even define development. He only raised issues. And he said, if these issues are sorted, then the country can be said to be developed. What is happening to poverty? What is happening to inequality? What is happening to unemployment? And Dr. Sears talked about if inequality is low, if the gap between the rich and the poor is minimized significantly, the country can be said to be developed. If there's employment for the many, people are working and earning and meeting their daily needs with ease, that nation can be said to be developed. If the vast majority of the country are not poor, they are okay. They are not struggling. That country can be said to be developed. On the part of Okudiba Nnoli, he tried to define development as a nation or nations using the resources available in their environment to better the lives of their people. Development is progress. Development is infrastructural advancement. Development is technological advancement. Development is educational advancement. Development generator is up. Development is not something that you can conceal. Development, if a nation is developed, if you're flying into Heathrow, you don't need any soothsayer to tell you that you're flying into a developed nation. And you look at the education system, you look at the infrastructure, you look at the poverty level, that is not to say that they don't even have some of these issues bordering on inequality, unemployment, and poverty. They are there. But at what level? If you come into Africa, you don't need a soothsayer to tell you that this country is not developed. Beyond the big cities of Port Harcourt and Abuja, Lagos, possibly Enugu, 97% of Nigeria is rural, likely rural and undeveloped. Adopt the Sears definition, poverty. What is happening to poverty? What is happening to unemployment? What is happening to inequality? I mean, the gap between the rich and the poor in this country keeps expanding. Unemployment in Nigeria is pursuing 60%. Don't mind what Bureau of Statistics tells you. Because all these things are enablers of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. So what then is planning? I mean, I shouldn't be the one defining planning to anybody, because we plan at individual level. Every day you have to plan yourself, whether consciously or unconsciously. You have to plan your day. You have to plan your movements. You have to plan. Sometimes you have plans for feeding. In some households, they have a timetable. That is a plan. Sometimes you have to do budgeting. Budgeting is a plan. It's planning. Anything budget or budgeting is planning. Of course, it's called fiscal planning. Sometimes you have long-term, short-term, and medium-term. That is planning. Planning is deciding what actions to take. Deciding what actions to be taken in the future or in the present for the purpose of achieving goals. These goals can be personal, it could be organizational, it could be national. These goals can be international. So you plan for the local, you plan for the personal, you plan for the national. National planning is done by the government, particularly the federal government. At the state level, they plan. States have their own budget. States have their own development plan. There are development planners in states. Sometimes state governors pay heavy money to these sometimes so-called consultants to come up with a plan for the state. And you go to the local government, which I consider the most important and the most significant level of government. Planning also takes place at that level. So plan of action is more like a design. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? When are we going to do it? When are we going to do this one? When are we going to do that? How are we going to do it? Do we have the funds? How do we raise the funds? Who are the experts? Do we have the manpower? Do we have the natural resources? So planning is sometimes a never-ending process, whether it's an individual or a country. So development planning is never-ending. Most nations plan for their development. Most nations plan towards their development. A nation that fails to plan can never be developed. A nation that fails to plan genuinely with the interest of its citizens at heart. Because sometimes national planning in this country is geared towards enhancing or enriching few individuals. If you go back to the 1999 Constitution that was written by soldiers, the bulk of that Constitution, or at least several aspects of it, were structured or designed not in the national interest, to favor good present and former military people. To the extent that national security is now defined, national defense was defined as national security. But meanwhile, defense is not security. But it was a military constitution. It was the military that organized that constitution. So they made it in such a way that, they will always be in the picture. And this is just an example of national planners planning for selfish interest as against national interest or the interest of the vast majority of it. Because when you say development, and I ask, development for who? Development is supposed to impact positively the life of the citizens of a country. And so you cannot have development that does not positively impact the lives of the citizens. Sometimes government makes policies and say, okay, don't worry, it's going to get worse before it gets better, right? So you're suffering, hoping that tomorrow is, and Tinubu said that when he came to power, particularly after removing subsidy. So don't worry, tomorrow is going to get better. And someone was arguing the other day that perhaps, I mean, what he said is true, because actually flour prices beginning to come down. Inflation has peaked, it's no longer going up. Some are even arguing that it's coming down. I'm not an APC apologist, but are these things coming down? The price of gas is coming down. So perhaps, I'm not sure what they are doing, but you can see that somehow it's not getting better per se, but the hardship has slightly minimized, you know. And so the point I'm trying to make is that planning should be geared towards development. Planning, national planning, should be geared towards ameliorating the sufferings of the people. Planning should be geared towards making life a lot easier, a lot more favorable, improving the material condition, you know, of the citizens of the country. National planning is a government strategic blueprint for economic growth, social progress, and infrastructural development over a specific period of time. Again, National Developmental Plan is a government strategic blueprint for economic growth, social progress, and infrastructural development over a specific period. Now, over a specific period of time. Take note of that. It outlines the policies, the goals, and projects aimed at improving key sectors such as education, healthcare, agriculture, transportation, and industrialization. National development is more like a blueprint. A blueprint is a plan, you know, geared towards economic development, social development, infrastructural development. And again, it should be time bound. Okay, this is what we're going to do to develop this country between this period to this period, between this year to this year. You know, and there should be monitoring and evaluation mechanism. There should be measurement scale, and to know when you have achieved that. Okay, what are we doing? Over time, you look back and you evaluate what you've done. Okay, what is the impact? Are we making progress? Is it impacting positively of the life of the citizen? Okay, if it is not, what do we do? Sometimes messaging is key with regards to development planning and delivering development. And therein lies the trouble with the Tinubu administration. They are very poor on messaging. As bad as Buhari's government was, they were better at messaging than the present administration, particularly developmental messaging, so even political messaging. You know, these people see everything as an attack on the person or personality of the president or even the presidents. You know, you can't become a public official without having thick skin. And you don't expect everybody to agree with you all the time. And so any iota of disagreement, they come out attacking, bang, bang, bang. And the ministers should be on AIT, on NTA, on channels, and all those, what they call it, even international district, because you have Nigerians abroad. You know, but those ones are not our problem. You know, messaging, trying to put out the message, trying to explain government policy, trying to rationalize government policies, trying to go developmental policies, trying to make the citizen. They should be on radio stations, be on TV, because the bulk of the Nigerian population do not have television, and I don't mean this as a joke. Those who have, they don't have light to power their TV. But every Tom, Dick, and Harry has a transistor, particularly in northern Nigeria. That's if you want to reach the remotest part of this country, you do that via radio station. The military realized this late. You know, at one point it was bang, 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 shoot, shoot, shoot. They realized that messaging, sometimes you have to appeal to the conscience of the people. They started a radio station and trying to reach out, you know, particularly in northern Nigeria, in Borno and elsewhere. So development planning is geared towards improving key sectors such as education, healthcare, agriculture, transportation, industrialization, you name it. Every sector of the economy, there should be a plan, a national development plan towards improving or enhancing what is already on ground. And that is why you have ministers, for instance, to implement the sections or the sectors of the national development plan that pertains to their ministry. But in Nigeria, governance equals come and chop. Somebody wins election, and rather than look for the best hands that can help him plan and execute development for the people, looking for politicians that probably helped him come to power, to compensate them for their good works. And therein lies the problem. I met a House of Rep member a few weeks back who couldn't write a letter, and he was telling my friend to help him write a letter. And I'm like, hello? What is the minimum requirement for becoming a House of Rep member again? And it goes beyond what do you call it, paper qualification. Sometimes people are not interested in improving themselves. They are just interested in looking for money. But if you improve yourself and you find yourself in a situation where you are in public space, you do better because your knowledge base is high and you impact more, on the life of your constituents. But people are not interested in these things. Since independence, Nigeria has embarked on a series of national development plans and visions and endless efforts to search for appropriate development strategy. However, it is worrisome that these development plans and visions have failed to achieve their expected objective. This is evident from widespread poverty, dilapidated infrastructure, massive unemployment, and high incidences of disease. And then talk about our dead body, excess dead body. Sometimes we borrow, and the people who are borrowing us this money have key sectors that they want to be impacted. Then we just borrow to consume. Sometimes we borrow to steal. In the end, you don't see you have borrowed money. Our children and our children's children will pay off this money over a long period of time. What impact has that borrowed money contributed to the development of the society? Your guess is as good as mine. Now, over time, from pre-independence era, there have been attempts towards national development planning. Development planning have been accepted as a suitable strategy to address development challenges across the world, particularly in Nigeria. Therefore, the analysis of various development plans in Nigeria since independence is necessary. At some point, we look at all the development plans in Nigeria. And for a fact, you will have to critique the national development plans in Nigeria. That critique will tell us how effective it has been. What were the gaps? You prefer solutions, to mitigating those gaps in case of future. So, because you cannot just tell us what is wrong with the system, you should also tell us how to improve that system. And so, are we together?
We are together, sir.
Okay. Am I a baby? And am I slower now, or is still the same problem?
Sir, you are still the same. You are going at the same tempo.
Okay, sir. You're okay.
No, sir, you are fast.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We are okay. Well, I don't
There are
know.
people who, everybody cannot be moving at the same pace. There are people who are. I'll try to be better, man. But please do well to call my attention whenever you think that I'm not that you're not following me. If you can even identify the specific areas where you lost out, I wouldn't mind going back to treat it again, please. It's important that we all go home happy. And then not just being here, burning your data and not gaining anything because there's some crazy lecturer who can't help talking so fast. I apologize again. But I'll try to be better. Thomas, you want to say something?
No, sir.
Okay.
Sir, excuse sir.
I'm with you, ma.
Yes, you just said something that in trying to this development plan should follow a process. You said the past development plans yielded no much results, and so if we are trying to look at it, first we have to criticize it, then secondly profile a solution or something like that. You said
yes. In that case, you're following me, That was exactly what I said and how I said it. So you don't have a problem, The point is, you don't just criticize without this thing is bad. This plan is bad. Okay, what is the solution? Bring me ideas as to how to make it better. Because who knows? The solution to the troubles of Nigeria with regards to development might well come from this class. We are thinkers, aren't we? We are development thinkers. Whatever it is you're doing in your home and in your personal life, with regards to personal development, who knows, can be replicated towards societal development, and if care is not taken, national development. So you can't even escape it for the purpose of your exams. A critic of national development plans in Nigeria. I said it. So we have to go back and take a critical look at those development plans, some of which we will treat now, if not all. Then you look at them and then tell us where the gaps are and what the development planners or executioners could have done better. So are we together?
Yes, we are together.
Yeah.
Ready? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Timothy,
Yes, sir.
you want to say something?
No, sir.
Okay.
We are together.
Thank you. Thank you. Adama Yusuf is raising his hand.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I'm having a little challenge differentiating between the national confabs we have been having in Nigeria with national development plan. Are they different subject matters?
No. National confab is a jamboree. Where the government will bring some of its cronies and supporters to come and enjoy for a period of time. And they pay them heavily and they go. That has absolutely nothing to do with national development planning. The confab, Obasanjo organized one. I think Jonathan organized another one. All ended up with the same result. Force applied, no distance covered. Therefore, no work done. You don't even need a national. If you're saying, okay, come, let us just discuss, then in the end, you will cascade whatever communicate to the National Assembly, who are the statutory lawmaking body. But whatever you're doing at National Confab does not hold water. Because, how do you even implement? Is it the law? Take that as some friends or friends of the government gathering to drink tea and have conversations on national issues. And it has nothing to do with the national development plan or planning. Like the name implies, national confab or national conference. It's just a conference. It has nothing to even though elements of their discussions or communique could well have enhanced national development if implemented using the right channels. But in the end, nothing ever came out of these conferences or confabs, be it the one organized by Olusegun Obasanjo or Goodluck Ebele Chukwu Jonathan. Have I answered your question? Have I answered your question? Okay, maybe I lost him. Emmanuel Danladi is okay. That's Professor Ian Danladi. Prof,
Yes,
good morning.
yes, yeah. Good morning.
Good morning, Prof.
Good morning.
I'm loyal,
Yes,
sir.
good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I can hear you, sir.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Professor Ian Danladi
Okay,
is in the
fine.
class.
Yeah, congratulations. I've been following your lecture and it has been very interesting.
Oh, thank you,
And
sir.
I also like the way the class is responding to the lecture.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, but I also expect them to know that they are not children. They are not undergraduate students. They are supposed, if they like, they can record what you are saying. If they cannot pick down notes on their sheets of papers, then they should find alternatives. But not to say that, you are too fast. I don't think you are. You are just being moderate. As I've been following for the past 30 minutes, I've been on this, platform. So you are doing well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
And
I appreciate this.
if they are also hearing me, then they should understand
They
that
can hear you, sir.
yes, that conference
We are hearing you, sir.
is that conference is different from what we are discussing here in terms of development. Conference is only an aspect of development. And that is when you have a policy that your citizens don't understand. Then you want to have a conference where they will send their representatives for you to explain the policy. Yes, conference can be just a variable that form as a catalyst to help citizens understand government policies. But development in itself is the improvement of the people. What those you may make policies on taxation, for instance, what we are having. You make policy on taxation. You set up a national committee, or the National Assembly sets up a committee, and they say go and ask people to make submissions on what they think about taxation in Nigeria. Of course, they will talk and come up with certain policies. Fine, but these policies, when they are implemented, will they bring happiness to the people? If there's no happiness, then those policies are not promoting development. Exactly. But if such a policy now will make people happy, they are deducting your tax, and you are seeing where they are taking the tax to and what they are doing with the tax. And the product of that tax is also coming back to you to help you solve some of your social problems. Fine. Then you begin to, but don't compare conference with development, because conference is just one small aspect, that one small variable that you want to use to either get information that will enable you to plan for development. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. We're excited to have you. Thank you, Prof.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can continue. I'm listening to you.
Oh, okay, bro. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
But need I let you know that it was Professor Ian Danladi that supervised my master's and my PhD. And he's one of the best in the business. You can't talk about curriculum development in Nigeria as a nation without mentioning Professor Ian Danladi. So we're lucky to have him here. He's not just my professor, he's also my father. Prof, we are loyal.
God bless you. So if there are more questions that they want to ask, let them continue to ask. I'm hanging around to help support what you will say.
Are we still in class?
Hello, Clay.
Yes, we are in class.
Yeah, we are in class, sir.
Yeah, why did your teacher? Why did he leave?
Maybe he has a network challenge.
Maybe he has network issues.
Okay, you can. If you have more questions to ask, let me know. But for now, I think you know.